You had plenty money, 1922. You let all the women make a fool of you. Why don't you do right like some other men do?
And that was, of course, the classic song from featured in the 1988 classic Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Why Don't You Do Right? But that was not sung by Jessica Rabbit. In fact, it was sung by my next guest. She is a singer, actress, podcaster, host of the very popular podcast, The Tiara Talk Show, which has become the Tammy Tuckey Show, which has gone on for 240 episodes. And I was impressed by my 2 episodes, but she's also released an album, You'll Find Me on Main Street. She is on the verge of releasing a second album, which is what we'll be talking about later on the show. But first, please welcome a very special guest to Downtown Toontown, Tammy Tuckey. Tammy.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for welcoming me. I haven't been to Toontown in so long because I go to the Walt Disney World parks, and our Toontown is no longer Toontown, so I miss it. So it's nice coming back.
Yeah, well, I was actually gonna ask you about that. Do you? I know you are a Disney World kid, more a Disneyland kid. Do you have any memories of as you alluded to, the defunct? I believe it was called Mickey's Toontown Fair.
I loved it because it had Mickey's and Minnie's houses, and you could walk in and kind of see their little nuances of their characters. And then they had this big circus tent, and that's where you could meet the characters because they'd have like meet and greets inside and this big cool shopping center. I'd get my Disney princess dresses there when I was a kid because they'd have them for sale there. And then I think Donald had this big it's like a tugboat or like a ship, and you could play with the water. And then they had like a little fake little park, a playground for like little kids. And I loved it. I had so much fun. I found footage from that and was watching it, and it just brought back so many wonderful memories of that quiet little section of the park. You know what I mean? Like for younger kids. And it was very quaint. We just missed out on having the Roger Rabbit ride, which I enjoyed when I finally got over to Disneyland and I saw your Toontown, which I felt was a little bit more sophisticated. Like it was probably more geared for like not adults, but like, not just for the kids, So, and I loved that ride. I was like, we missed out on that at Disney World. So, yeah.
But your Toontown did have a ride, if I remember correctly. It was Goofy's Barnstormer, I want to say.
Yes, the roller coaster ride. That was one of my first roller coasters I ever was on, and they kept it, but I think they rethemed it to some type of Goofy magician ride. So it's there, and they have a new tent, but it's for Dumbo. For the new Dumbo ride, and it's enclosed. So I think they did that because of the rain, because it rains like crazy in Florida. So, but I haven't ridden the new Goofini ride since they updated it because I just have so many wonderful memories of the Barnstormer.
Yeah. How many times did you go to Toontown when it was still open?
We went every trip, every time we were there, and we knew the last trip, which I'm trying to remember what year it was. We knew it was going to be the last time we'd see it open. Yeah. So we went and we did everything. We spent a little bit extra time there, and I'm so glad we did. I really think they could have picked up the houses and put them somewhere else because I think they were just a nice, cute little addition. But they decided not to, and I hope they didn't destroy the entire house completely. I hope they save some items, but who knows?
Yeah, well, I mean, we technically don't have, we have the roller coaster too, but it wasn't Goofy, the Goofy Barnstormer. It was the Gadgets Go coaster, which of course is our Toontown for those, who aren't aware, is currently under construction and closed. So who knows if, that's going to survive.
I'm wondering what their plans are because if they remove that and the Roger Rabbit ride, well, Roger will no longer be in any Disney attraction, I don't think. I think that's the last. Am I correct? Or I think that's like the last.
There is a Roger Rabbit cartoon spin in Tokyo. I know that for sure.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. So That's
Yeah,
cool. I'll have to go
so
to
there are
Tokyo then.
thankful. Yeah, Japan loves their Toontown. Thankfully, and from what I've read, from what I've seen, Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin should be safe. I mean, they did just make some changes to it right before they closed, so it would be kind of weird if they got rid of it. It would be like if they got rid of the Country Bears right as the movie was about to be released.
Yeah, but they did that. They did that to our great movie ride because they updated it with Robert Osborne, and then he passed
Uh,
away,
uh,
and then they closed it.
Okay,
So
now you're just getting
I,
into
I
depressing
don't mean to.
territory.
I know I don't mean to be glass half empty, but I really do hope it stays because I think Roger Rabbit is such a key part of the Disney animation renaissance. I really do. I think it's a brilliant film, and I really think he deserves to be a part of the theme parks because the first memory that comes up to me is the Disneyland Fun sing along tape because he's in that, and
Oh,
that was
I
when they were trying
mean,
to get him to be a
I,
part of the Fab Five or something, right?
yeah,
That I think.
that was my go-to video. I watched that every time I couldn't go to Disneyland. I only went once a year, but yeah, I saw Disneyland Fun. Yeah, that's a pretty key part of my childhood. So let's talk about your career. I know we mentioned earlier you were into singing. Is that where you got into music? I assume Disney played a key role in your interest in music.
Yeah, I'd been going to the park since I was 1.5, and I saw what the cast members, in front of the castle are dancing and singing. I'm like, that's what I want to do. And I did a lot of summer camps of shows, and then I did community theater, and I still do a lot of that on the side. My full-time position was in healthcare for a while and business management, but I always did my podcast starting at 14 in like 2011 and have done it ever since and perform. And so it's always been key for me. And my mom used to buy those sing along tapes for me all the time. I think that's really how I learned to sing and read. So those hold a special place in my heart. I think I have some back here behind my Doug
Oh,
lunchbox.
so awesome. I mean, sadly, my VHS tapes have sort of taken the trip to the Goodwill store, but which I'm
Yeah.
regretting. But I do have the Disneyland Fun on DVD. I had to have a hard copy
Yes.
of that. Um, and the really cool part was the bonus, the DVD Easter egg, where if you go to the subtitles and pick French subtitles, you see the Disneyland Paris version.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. I'm going to have to pull out my DVD and try it.
Oh yeah, if you want to hear a French Pooh Bear or a French Roger Rabbit, that's the way to
For
do
sure.
But
That would be so cool.
but yeah, those sing along song VHS tapes, they were instrumental in my life. I mean, I'm a little older than you, but we're the same generation. I mean, those VHS tapes,
Yeah.
those sing along songs, they're the reason I would say I'm a Disney fan. I'm so into Disney.
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And I think it's a travesty that we don't have any more of that. And it was an introduction to other Disney films that you probably didn't even know about, like The Great Mouse Detective when Ratigan sings his song. Like, I was like, what is this? And then, other films that probably you'll never see, Zippity
Oh
Doo Dah
well,
from
oh,
Song
yeah,
of the
yeah. I
South.
mean, I knew about Song of the South and asked my parents about seeing the movie because of those sing along song videos. So I saw, I knew about Song of the South. I knew about, even really obscure stuff like A Cowboy Needs a Horse. Like going way back.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that one is, I love that one. And my dad had film. So he had a copy of that in film, like I think a 16 millimeter, I think he had of it. And so I loved seeing that in a different vantage point, but then watching it on VHS tape was a joy too. So yeah, you would get obscure different songs, and sometimes you'd get stuff from the TV series, like the Little
Mickey
Mermaid
Mouse.
in Harmony.
Yeah, that's that too. The Mickey Mouse Club, a lot of
Yeah.
songs, like fun with music.
Sequels.
Yeah, sequels. But yeah, I
I
mean,
loved it.
we could talk about those sing along songs all day. They're such a instrumental part of my Disney fandom, you know, a lot of them are thankfully on YouTube. So if you're curious listeners,
Yes.
you could, you know, and you have
I use them for babysitting all the time because you know you could put YouTube up on the TV and I would sing and dance with whoever I was babysitting. They love them. They're like, "What is this?"
yeah. So yeah, they're great fun. So I want to go back to that song, the "Why Don't You Do Right." I was actually, you know, before the interview, skimming through your YouTube page. I noticed it was the very first video. I assumed it was, you know, it's at least one of your first videos, if not your first. It currently has 7.8 million views, which is, for me, an insane number. Like, you know, I don't think I've gotten 70.8 million on anything, you know, but
I know. I was shocked too because that was the first cover I ever posted, and I think it's one of the first videos I posted. But I think a lot of people, the most reoccurring comment is, "I thought this was the original," which is such an honor because Amy Irving sang the original, and she is very, very talented. So I was just honored people thought it was the original.
yeah. So did you grow up, you know, like, I don't know, wanting to be Jessica Rabbit at all, or you know
What girl didn't? You know what I mean? Like the hair, the dress. Like I was all about dresses back then. So I loved it. I just loved that song because of the jazz quality to it. I didn't know it wasn't an original song for the film. I didn't know that. I thought it was made for the film. It's not. So and I just, you can't get enough. Like that's an entrance. That's a film entrance. I don't know. I don't know about you, but I think that it's the definitive female fatale entrance, and you can't go wrong with a song. So and the way they are able to film and animate that, and you see the behind the scenes featurettes of the woman who does stand in for it, so she can touch the face of Eddie Valiant and squeeze the cheeks of the other gentleman. It's so cool to see that all come together and be animated so brilliantly. You never see anything like that. And I think Jessica, she says she gets a bad rap. You know, she's not bad. She's just drawn that way. And I totally agree.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what age were you when you first saw Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Do you know?
I think I was like 10 or 11. And I remember before I saw it, my uncle was telling me, he told me the ending. I don't know why we got to that subject. I just remember this key conversation with him, and it scared me because he was like, he was wiped away, like, you know what I mean? And I didn't understand that. I was like, what do you mean? Like the horror of it. And I think when we're kids, the horror segments of certain animated films really come into play, and sometimes our fears, or they just stick out when we think back on the film. So I just think about that. And then my presence before I even saw the films was at Disney's MGM Studios, which is now Hollywood Studios. They used to have, the machine that had the gook in it. They had that
the
there.
Dip machine.
The dip machine. Thank you. And then across from there, they had like this shopping area that was themed to like Acme and really weird toys and things like that. And they had like bricks that were hung up in like this kind of I don't know how to explain it, how do you explain it? It's just hung up, so it's like hanging, and it looks like it's gonna fall on you if you take a good picture. Like that type of weird jokes like that. And the most fun thing was opening up these boxes, and you would open up the boxes, and there'd be noises like or ooh, you know what I mean? And you just open up and you'd be like, what's in it? So it was just so funny to have that around there and be like Roger Rabbit theme. That was like the key Roger Rabbit memory I had before seeing the film when I was a little bit older. But I played with those boxes like constantly. I had pictures and videos of that. So, yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, yeah, I totally agree that Roger Rabbit is a movie, like I feel like Disney doesn't promote it enough because, you know, a big reason, I guess, is that, you know, it's sort of in that fine line between being a kid's film and an adult film, I guess. So, you know, did your parents have any concerns about showing it to you? I mean, I know someone whose parents did.
I don't think so. I think because I grew up watching cartoons, the original cartoons, the Goofy cartoons, the Donald, the Mickey, the Chip and Dale, Woody Woodpecker, Looney Tunes. I watched all of that as a kid. I was lucky because my dad had an actual physical projector. So I was watching the originals on 16 millimeter. And so I had an understanding, and I was watching Three Stooges, the Marx Brothers. I would see a lot of different things. So I was fascinated by it. And then having that combination, and my parents loved the film, you know what I mean? It combines all of that. You get Bugs Bunny and Mickey on screen together. You get all of these different characters that I knew, Betty Boop, and Daffy Duck and Donald Duck. And it was just cool to see that all come together. And anything that was really upsetting or naughty would go above a kid's head, I think.
Patty
I
cake.
never thought of, yeah, the patty cake, like you and Jessica Rabbit, I just thought she was like a princess. So I wasn't like thinking of her in a sexual way. But and I loved Roger Rabbit. Like I thought he was funny. And I, oh, you know what? My first introduction, I should go back, is the shorts. The 3 shorts, because my dad had them, and Roller Coaster Rabbit's my favorite. And so the movie, the one thing that really stood out for me, I don't really recall like anything besides like the dip with the shoe and the scene where his eyes come out as character Dagger Eyes, Christopher Lloyd's character. That was scary. But the one thing that really scared me was the short with the hospital. And I thought
Tell
they were
me
going to
trouble.
operate on Roger.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to operate on Roger, and I did not like that. I was scared to death for him. I was like, he's on the table. They're going to try to open him up. Like, I was scared. I was very scared of that. I remember that. So,
Well,
but yeah, I don't think they had any problems with that. I don't think it was as risque. My mom was very, very particular about what I watched. Like, I couldn't watch Grease until I was like 13. And even that, my mom was like, okay, we got to, let you know what this means, but, we're not going to say these words, So she was traditional in what I could and could not see. So I wasn't watching PG-13 as a kid.
Yeah, well, now that you mentioned those shorts, I mean, I saw those shorts before the movie too. Like
Yes.
it was on. They were released in a VHS, and I remember us renting it, thinking it was Roger Rabbit, but I was just
Yeah.
entertained by the cartoons.
And we were sometimes lucky. I don't know if I was, I don't think I was present because it was too late in the game, but the animation department at MGM Studios was making those films there. So I wasn't there when they were making them, but I was there for other films that they were drawing at the time, which I found was fascinating too.
Yeah, that's cool. Tell me about it, because the time I went there, I think, that was back in like 2004 when they officially announced they were transitioning from animated to all computer animated films. Those were the Home on the Range days. So I never got to see any films get made. What films did you get to see made?
I remember Treasure Planet being featured, Atlantis. We were there in 97, 98, and I wouldn't have remembered it, but they were working on Hercules. Mulan, we saw the big parade, the Mulan parade, which was prominently made there at the studio. So we did see a lot of that, which was great. Lilo and Stitch was made there, Brother Bear. I remember seeing when they were introducing the new digital films, it was like Chicken Little, Meet the Robinsons. So, but they closed out the animators. The animators left by, I think, 2004. So it just lost that magic. But when you were there, you got to see them really work on these things, and you felt like you were a part of it. And when that left, basically the studios became not the studios anymore, and it lost its identity. And then Backlot Tour was disappeared, and the Roger Rabbit store disappeared. Things were going left and right. Like the only thing that I can recall that's Roger Rabbit related, which I went to go see actually when I was there in April, was near 50s Primetime Cafe. There are these fake buildings, and there's like a cutout of Roger Rabbit like pushed through the window in that one scene, and they fixed it because it was sun-kissed. So it's there, and then the Maroon Studios logo I think is still up on the billboard above it, but that's sun-kissed. So it doesn't look as nice as it used to. But and Eddie Valiant's offices up there. So I was actually pleased that that's still there. It's just weird because you would think that everything would be gone by now. It would be disappeared because
that
Roger
makes
Rabbit, they don't care.
yeah, that makes my heart, really swell to know that there's at least some Roger Rabbit rep over in Florida still.
Yeah.
Are Roger's footprints still there?
That I don't remember seeing, but I wasn't looking at the footprints because the way that they had the line based for the new Mickey's Railway was like in the opposite direction. So I don't think they've really changed anything. I believe he's still there because the ones that they have there were there when opening day happened. The new ones they have, apparently they never put them out. Like they have ones for Tina Fey and Johnny Depp, but they don't put out the new ones for whatever reason. I don't know. I really think they left his there. I think Bob Hoskins is there too. I'm trying to remember. I don't recall, but I think it's still there. When I went to the Beauty and the Beast show, they have a ton of them outside of the theater. And I was just looking at them and one of them was who just passed away? Tim Conway. He was up there. I think Alex Trebek was there too. There were a couple of people that I saw up there and I just was like, this is weird that they're just thrown out here and nobody knows that they're there. I was just looking around. I forgot that they were there. So, but yeah, it's small remnants of what used to be. And it's such a shame because you're like, oh, and what it used to be.
Yeah, well, I know at our coast we're about to get that Mickey's Runaway Railroad, so we'll see how
you'll love it. You'll really love it. It's what they had the Roger Rabbit trolley ride that was supposed to be.
Yeah,
I think that this really pulls from that, and I loved it. We love the Great Movie Ride, and that was our prominent feature, was that attraction, which Roger Rabbit is featured at the very end of the movie montage.
He was indeed
kissing Bob. Yeah, and so we missed that so much, but it just, they weren't taking care of the ride, and they needed to move on, and what they replaced with is actually really fun. I enjoy it very much. I wish they could have thrown Roger Rabbit into that universe, that new Mickey Mouse universe they have. Like, they should.
Yeah,
it would be so cool to see that.
Yeah, well, I like the name El Capitan Theater. I mean, so I'm eager to see how it all works out.
Oh, I can't wait. I hope so. That would be really, really cool. But you never know. I think you guys will really like it. I think that's a perfect ride. You don't need the new Ratatouille ride. It's not as good as they say it is. The Mickey's Railway really is better.
Interesting. I was curious to ride that one, but one day, I gotta go back to Walt Disney World one of these days. It's been too long. But so to go back to your career a little bit, I meant you had a album, you started singing, you uploaded it, you got a lot of views, and eventually you put on an album. How does one do, like, how do you set out to put an album? It's
I know. I asked myself the same question. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I did. I produced it and created it. It took like 9 months to do, and we released it in 2018. It was titled "You'll Find Me on Main Street," and the inspiration was the music of Walt Disney World when I was growing up. So I picked and chose a couple of songs from the theme parks. The one from Studios, where Roger Rabbit was prominently featured, was Doug Live. There's the lunchbox behind me. And that was a musical there for about 3 years. And I loved it. And there's a love song from it, Someone Like Me. So that's what's prominently featured from Studios, and Tomorrow's Child and New Horizons, Epcot Music, and Tarzan, because Tarzan Rocks was at Animal Kingdom. So it was a very hard process, but I just kind of researched what I could online and released it as a digital album only. And it's really surprising. I've heard so much about the album, and the most asked question is, when are you going to do a follow-up? Because everybody likes that obscure, you're doing songs from the theme parks that nobody covers. So I have this new Indiegogo campaign. for our second album. And in the next 44 days, I need to hit a goal of $10,000. It's an all or nothing campaign. And there are perks that are offered for anybody who like does decide to donate. You could donate $5 or $20. And if you donate $20, you can get the digital copy of the album once it releases, hopefully, if everything goes well, April 2023. And this time I'm upping the ante. I'm doing 10 songs. 9 of them are covers from the theme parks, and 1 will be an original song. And since it's an audio only medium, a lot of people are like, 10,000 is a lot of dollars, is a lot of money. It is, but when you have an audio medium, you really want people to enjoy it because you're just listening to it. So I want the best quality in instrumentals from my good friend James Clark. He turns around these beautiful pieces, and then you want to record it so it sounds professional and mix it. It needs to be to this certain level. So if we're going to do it, we want to do it right. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, and it's been such an honor because I found out like last month I'm featured on a Spotify playlist for Disney music, and I'm like, this is crazy. So I hear more and more of people really enjoying the album, so I'm like completely honored.
as have you ever heard of have you ever been amazed of hearing about someone higher up or someone important listening to your music and commenting on it?
It's funny you mentioned that. I got a reminder on my phone. So I released a song called Remember the Magic, which was the theme of 95 for Magic Kingdom. And that was actually around the time that Roger Rabbit was still in the parks, because he was in Spectro Magic before they replaced him with the genie. And so anyway, there was Remember the Magic, and I created this film on YouTube where you see the original photo from like the 90s when we were at the parks, and we recreated them in 2018. So I sent it to Bob Iger, and he liked it, and he saw the video. So that was really cool.
I mean, it doesn't get more higher up than that.
I know. I was like, oh man, he didn't sign me though before he left Disney. Darn.
Yeah. Have you heard? Has Bob Chapek heard your music?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if he would appreciate it, because I don't think he gets the history of the parks. And I wish he would. Like, I would love to sit down and talk to him about it. I think it would, if you give him a perspective of, the parks are about the cast members, and the cast members really truly make the magic happen.
Yeah, well, Bob, if you happen to be listening to this, if you want to up your approval ratings, because let's face it, they're kind of low. If you want to up them up, give a listen to Tammy's music. You never know where inspiration.
And he could be on the album. He can be on the album too. I'll let him sing. Do a tap dance. I got all the songs picked, but I have to clear them by Disney first before I can do anything. So, if you're interested, interested in, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, you brought up a great. I'm generally curious. Like, how do you go about copyright and clearing that? Because that's a process I'm fascinated by.
It's basically what I was told is the song it has to have been released officially, regardless of if it was released in the United States, Canada, UK. It has to have been released. So that's why some of the songs I want to do, I don't know if they've been released. So I have to send this list of songs with songwriter information, and they have to check and clear it. Like, for instance, the Doug song. They didn't even know if it was ever released. So I might have not been able to record it, but they did a lot of digging, and they found, yes, it was released in Canada for the Doug live movie, Doug's first movie.
Yeah. Doug's
and
first movie.
So as soon as they approve of that, I go through CD Baby, which is a company that basically you just put in all the information about the album and upload the tracks, and they kind of take care of the rest. And it's interesting. It's a really it is kind of a difficult process to understand, but once you do it, you get a sense, and you know how to go about doing it. So this time around, I'm not as scared as I was, being able to kind of reach out and get it done. It's just the financial support. So I always, if you can, my website is tammytuckey.com, and the trailer for the Indiegogo campaign and the link are right on the front page. Or you can go to Indiegogo and just type in my name, Tammy Tuckey, and it will come up, and you can look at the perks and see what works for you. You can pick a perk that has a poster and a physical CD, or my top perk is I will fly out to you and give you a personal concert of the entire album. Uh, so, there's different opportunities, and any help would be much appreciated, even if $5 or $1, it doesn't matter. It would be cool to kind of make something like this, because, we're at Walt Disney World, where they're not even releasing a 50th anniversary album of their music. And I think it would be really cool to kind of be able to release this album in tribute and collaboration with the 50th happening. So we'll see. It'll be cool.
Yeah. So is the album like, You'll Find Me on Main Street? Are they all Disney World songs again?
Yes. So I have a list. I can't say everything yet that's on the list, but I will pick from all of the 4 parks. I will, some of them are medleys of certain songs together, and some are different versions of the song. Some are more jazzed up versions. Some are maybe country bear themed. And I try to kind of go, I don't want to do the same thing that was released originally. You want to hear something new and brand new. And a lot of people appreciated like the Tarzan song. I did Strangers Like Me, but it was more of an 80s feel to it. Right. And the Epcot medley I did was a more updated version. It wasn't 80s sounding, but it still had that magic and nostalgic theme and music behind it, which is what I was going for. So that's what I want to do for this album. I kind of want to run the gamut and do more of the songs, because I wanted to do originally 12 songs for the first album and just have that as its own thing. But financially, I couldn't do that at the time. So this is why it's kind of that's why I wanted to see if I could do something with Indiegogo and make it more plausible and happen, and more can come from that, because in the first album I was able to collaborate with a couple of wonderful people and groups like Sounds of Blackness, who did the John Henry cartoon. They were able to sing on an Epcot song called "Celebrate the Future Hand in Hand," and they tore it up, man. I will tell you, they're fantastic. And then we have at Disneyland, you have the song Two Brothers at Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, but it originated at the American Adventure, and I got the original singer, Ali B. Omo, to sing the song with me and do a duet of it. And then we were flown in to do an event in 2019 and sing it live. It was amazing. It was a very special moment. And those are all also on my YouTube channel if you want to watch them in person too. So, but yeah, it's hard. It's a very difficult process, but I would love to give it a shot.
Yeah, so this album, it sounds like releasing an album like gives you a lot of great opportunities. I mean, to sing with the person who sang Two Brothers. I mean, is there a moment, anything that stands out like that? Like, wow, this is impressive.
That was a key moment for me, because Allie was recording. She lives in California, so she was recording there, and I was recording here in Philly. So we never got to record together. And once we heard the mix of the song, it was like it was magical. It was an amazing experience. I know that's corny to say, but it was beautiful. And then to be able to sing with her was just another level of an amazing experience. And so and bringing that to people to see that, there was like 300, 400 people who saw us perform it, and they gave her a standing ovation. It was very unique, because she's never sung it live before. And she didn't know, like, that was apparently that is the most asked question at Epcot: who sings Two Brothers at Guest Relations? So, that's the answer. And people just, it was a wonderful experience. And then I got to take her to go see the show, and we heard her sing it live, and we talked to the cast members at the end, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool. We get to meet Allie." So that was a fun experience too.
Yeah, so since we're talking about music, I'm just curious, like, what are like your favorite Disney songs? Like, is there anything like like favorites that like that you would like to sing one day, maybe, but haven't, or maybe you've already sung and it really meant something to you? Like, what are some things that stand out?
I love the Disney villain songs. I think with the most recent Disney films, we don't get those anymore because there's not a clear villain anymore. It's more of a concept as opposed to a character. And I love the villain songs. Like if I can do a third album, I'm just thinking way in advance. I just want to do an album of villain songs because they are the best part of the film. So I enjoy those. I enjoy the ones that that never made it to the movies, that never made it into the movie, like Yzma's song "Snuff Out the Light" is Eartha Kitt at her finest with a jazzed up villain song that's for the ages. I love it, written by Sting, and you're like, gosh, I wish they had animated this at least so we could see it in its entirety. And that was for Kingdom of the Sun before it became The Emperor's New Groove. So that one has been on my mind for a while. I have a cover of it on YouTube, but I would love to make a music video with it. You know what I mean? Like that would just be so cool.
I think you're onto something with the villain song. I was at Disneyland with someone the other day, and I don't know if you heard that Tarzan's Treehouse, which at Disney World, Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse, but the Tarzan Treehouse is closing. They announced that they're going to retheme it to Encanto, and he was saying, "Oh yeah, the reason Tarzan's not popular because it doesn't have a good villain song." And
That's true.
And then I never really gave it much thought. And he was like, yeah, think about like all the most beloved Disney movies have villain songs. And, I guess, he said Encanto technically counted because We Don't Talk About Bruno's arguably a villain song. And look how popular that song is.
Oh, yeah. Huge. I think also apparently I'd interviewed the director, Kevin Lima, and the copyright on Tarzan is difficult because anytime you show Tarzan, it's always going to be copyrighted back to the book, the original story, the gentleman who wrote it. And that caused issue, I think, later down the line for Disney. So I don't think they pushed it as much later after Tarzan Rocks closed in 2006. So there wasn't any, addition to that. The music is brilliant, and the problem is that film is taken in Tarzan's perspective, and it doesn't even give Jane a song. Like I would love Jane to have a song because Minnie Driver's a singer too, right? So but it's in Tarzan's perspective, which is why there's no villain song, which is understandable. But then you have Turk singing a song, so it's interesting. But then again, there's only like 2 songs in Roger Rabbit, right? No, 3 songs, right? And the villain doesn't get a song in that either.
Yeah, I mean, the Edgar Rice Burroughs like estate, that's a fascinating thing altogether. But it's more fun to say, yeah, it's not as popular as it used to be because it doesn't have a villain song,
Yeah, you could say that too. Yeah, I think that Tarzan is dwindled in popularity, which is a shame because I love the film. I think it's brilliant. I think it was a good thing for them to retheme it over there. Our Swiss Family Treehouse is huge. When I came to Disneyland, I thought it was going to be just as big as ours. No, ours is huge, and it's still there. And it's like it's so interesting because it's not been touched at all. Like they fix things here and there, like clean it up, whatever. But there's no change to it. It's just
the Disneyland album still has the the Swiss polka from the piano.
That's funny.
Yeah. So plenty of people are like, "What is this from?" And I don't really remember Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse, but I'm like, that's from the Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse. Before.
Yeah, the movie is not that good. I'd prefer Pete's Dragon Treehouse.
Yeah,
because I love Pete's Dragon. Like that's one of my other underrated films. Like I'd love to cover the Doctor's song Every Little Piece.
I love all the films that combine animation with live action, and Pete's Dragon it's getting a lot of merchandise these days because of the electrical parades back, and of course Elliot.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of I have
That's I'm so glad it is. I think that film paved the way for Roger Rabbit too, because it's Mary Poppins and Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, and then there was that time where there was like nothing going on, and Pete's Dragon was slammed right in the middle after Walt had passed away, and it was like, what do we do? And maybe it wasn't to the best quality ever in the world, but it was still there, and people still enjoyed it. So yeah, I love Elliot. I'm glad he's a part of it, and I'm so glad Pete's in it too. Like, it's hilarious to see that float made it all these years later. You're like, well, that's only because it was in the 70s, but I love it. I'll when it came over to Magic Kingdom here at Disney World, it was like great to see it in person. But I do miss Spectro Magic. I loved having Spectro Magic at our parade. It was great. We don't have anything, so you guys are lucky. So yeah, rub it in our faces.
Well, thinking about your show, like, didn't you interview Sean Marshall, who played Pete in Pete's Dragon, on your show?
Yeah, I interviewed Sean.
Did you ever ask him about, like, if the rumors were true that, like, I guess, he actually played that boy in the electrical parade, when it started?
He did.
Yeah.
He did. He did play at certain points, but he was getting older. So,
well, the fact he ever played at it at any point in time, I think, is awesome.
I know. I wish they had some photos or something. Maybe the archives has footage or photos of him doing it. That would be so cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, so talk. That's a segue to your show. You've had 200. You've had a lot of guests. Does any guest stand out on your show?
I've been so lucky to talk to so many of them. Recently I've been thinking about the music of the Disney theme parks because of my album. So Bruce Broughton did beautiful work and so many different themes. The new Spaceship Earth music score for Epcot is beautiful. And if you're going to Disneyland Paris, the Cinemagique soundtrack, one of my favorites. I wish I'd seen Cinemagique in person and heard that music in person. John Debney I've talked to. He did Phantom Manor at Disneyland Paris as well, and I think he also did Hocus Pocus, the movie. So Richard Bellis, who did the Star Tours, and also the music. Talented man. George Wilkins, who I just met in person last month in April, and he did Sunny Eclipse, the alien that sings in Tomorrowland, and he did the Great Movie Ride soundtrack and Food Rocks. So I love talking about music, so those are ones that kind of stand out for me a lot. And but I can't stand listening to my voice, so I try not to listen back to the conversations unless I absolutely have to. They sound great, but I can't listen to myself. I'm like,
trust me, you have a perfectly lovely voice. Especially your singing voice. It's a great voice. I mean, you could be so much worse. You could have my voice. I hate listening to my voice on podcasts.
No, you sound great. I think we just can't stand our own voices, and then we pick apart how we sound. And listening to when I was like 14, interviewing Helen Reddy, I'm like, oh, I can't even. I have this Philly twang and sound to me, and I'm like, I don't sound good at all. But you learn that's the process. You can't. Howard Stern says it all the time. He's like, I listen to my original recordings of when I was on the radio before I was Howard Stern, and I was horrible, but I had to learn from that, and the only way I learned was listening back on them. And I listened back on mine, and I had to edit mine all the time. So there you go. It's over 10 years of experience of doing that, and you kind of hopefully think you have it down now.
Yeah. Yeah, to get the subject a little bit back to the theme of the podcast, Roger Rabbit and all that. You mentioned Roger Rabbit has, like 3 songs and all that, and of course you covered, the most famous Why Don't You Do Right. Here's a sort of very specific weird fan request. Would you ever at one point ever consider covering This Can Only Happen in the Movies?
Oh yeah, I would love to do that. I would love to do that. I think all the music in I'm kind of surprised they never really went for a full musical with the film, but I think it would have done it a disservice. But I would love to do that. Yes,
Yeah, and
absolutely.
for the people listening who are unaware of that song, so at one point there was going to be a Roger Rabbit 2 called "Who Discovered Roger Rabbit." They wrote a script. They did a little test pitch that Eric Goldberg animated. That's on YouTube, and they even had Alan Menken come and he wrote 3 songs for this movie that ended up never getting made. One of them, the most famous one that apparently is called "This Can Only Happen in the Movies," because Alan Menken has actually sang it at a couple of his concerts. If you've been so lucky,
Yes,
and yeah,
I've heard it. I love it.
This only happens in the movies. Life's not this perfect off the screen. Stars never gleam so bright, and nights never seem so right, except in the movies that I've seen.
yeah, and there is some artist too who's released a rendition of that song, so it's definitely possible.
I think so. I think I thought I had heard rumors that they were kind of considering bringing back Roger Rabbit. It would be very hard because Bob Hoskins was like the heart of that film, and I
Yeah.
adore that man. Hook is one of my favorite films of all time, and he is so darn good in that one too. But he really pulls off this Eddie Valiant so well. Such a likable guy. It would be hard to see, but I would love to see that. I think Kathleen Turner did a recent interview too. Oh, it was that oh gosh, the Disney
Prop
Plus series
culture.
where yes, I was so surprised they even had her, like she agreed to do it. I was like, go Kathleen.
Yeah.
It was amazing to see her do that. The one prop that it's so sad to see it like kind of just dwindled to nothing was the one at Hollywood Studios, MGM Studios, in the backlot commissary restaurant. I'm blanking on the
Yeah,
name.
you were thinking Benny the
The
Cab, right?
car. Yeah. And it was in such beautiful condition when it was there. And going back and seeing it, I think it's already been taken out as of now. But
Mm.
the last time I was there in October, just seeing it there and how damaged it was and not taken care of was kind of very disappointing. And then the picture of Bob with it in the back was sun-kissed, I think. And not, it was, it wasn't properly displayed. It just didn't look nice. And I was like, I was so bummed. I'm like, beautiful, wonderful props. And you just, oh, it just killed me that I saw it like that. And then the Planet Hollywood used to have the rolled judge when he was rolled into a pancake. They had it on display in the stairwell going up. And that was really cool to see, creepy as anything. I was scared. I was like, I don't want to walk up the stairwell. You're like run up really fast past it, but it's the detail on it is amazing. And you'd be like, well, why would they even care to put that? You're not even seeing it on camera because you're seeing the animated version of him, right? But they put so much detail onto it, and that's what makes you appreciate the older Disney films because they were done with such loving and care and a lot of effort. A lot of effort was put into that movie. My gosh. And so I can only appreciate and be like, brilliant work, you guys. You did it.
Yeah, well, I mean, if anyone ever has the opportunity to go to Industrial Light and Magic, apparently steamrolled Judge Doom is hanging by the bathroom. I found that out
Where
on Twitter.
where's that? Industrial?
Light and Magic. It's in the Lucasfilm Ranch off of San
Oh, okay.
Francisco.
Okay, yes. That must be the one from Planet Hollywood, I guess. It must have been on loan.
Yeah. Well, yeah, someone on Twitter like posted it's hanging on the by the bathroom, and everyone's like, "Oh, this is gonna terrify me." I just
It,
think
you know,
it's the
I
coolest.
think I saw I think I saw some of the costumes before Great Movie Ride ended. They had some of the costumes from the movie on display, I believe. And then they had them at a D23 expo because I remember seeing, what's Eddie's girlfriend's name? Doris?
Yeah, Dolores.
Dolores, thank you. Sorry. Her costume was there. Judge Dooms was there, and Eddie's was there. And they had some gun props too, I think, that the Weasels held. They had those too. I'm just trying to think of the, because you see these things and everything meshes in your mind. You're like, a Great Movie Ride, it's not there anymore, so you can't see those displays. I'm like, oh, bummer. But that was cool when they used to have like the props and costumes out there to see them in person, because I thought that was unique. They had them on the backlot tour. There's this part where the tram goes through. I'm just picturing it right now. It goes through the costume and prop section, and there are windows, and then there are little sections that have the costumes in them, and like they had Pretty Woman, Sister Act, and they would update them as a new movie came out, and put more, and that's why I love watching the backlot tours, because all the props and sets and things and costumes are always being switched out. So you would see stuff from Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and then it would update a few years later for Chronicles of Narnia, and it was really, really cool when they used to do that. I hope those props are being taken care of. That's all I gotta say.
Well, that's why I loved that show, Prop Culture. I mean, it was great to see a lot of those props, and they do have the Disney archive, so hopefully, a lot of people are. Hopefully,
I hope they do more episodes. That was so fascinating, and I was glad the archives did let us have a sneak peek into some of those items that they had. So, I do miss that. Yeah, now I really want to watch Who Framed Roger Rabbit tonight.
I couldn't agree more about either Roger Rabbit or Prop Culture. I would love for season 2. Yes.
They better.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, we're almost reaching, to the hour point. So do you want to, talk anything else about your, Indiegogo campaign, about, how, people can reach out you, or, any final, sort of thoughts?
Yeah, sure. I again, at Indiegogo.com, you can type in my name, Tammy Tuckey, or you can go to my website, TammyTuckey.com. Please consider donating. The campaign will run until July 11th. So we're going to do a live show on July 1st on my YouTube channel. I'll post more about it later with a link. But we're going to bring back some of the people who were a part of the original album to appear on the live show that evening, and talk about the album, and then talk a little bit about the newer album to raise money. And I have an interview with the cast of Atlantis, The Lost Empire, coming up in June on the 17th. So these live shows are on YouTube, and it's fun because we get to go live, and then I can pull comments from YouTube while we're going, and fans can interact with the people I'm talking with, and it's fun to have that dialogue, continue to go. So you could check that out at youtube.com/Tammy Tuckey.
Yeah, to make a steering point from Toontown to Tomorrowland for a little bit, I really enjoyed that Meet the Robinsons episode you did recently.
Yeah, wasn't that fun? Because I remember watching the movie in IMAX, and I loved it, and I couldn't believe it's been 15 years. I'm like, I don't want to feel old. And again, another film I feel like Disney does not highlight or mention at all. And it's sad because you have some great characters and you have a great message, and they don't utilize them. So it was wonderful that Steve Anderson, the director, was able to help me put together that reunion, at least for the 15th. So we had a great time. It was really fun. Yeah,
and this is far off in the future, I think. But don't you have like a Treasure Planet show lined up? Because this is
noticed.
This is the 20th anniversary, and I remember when that film came out in theaters. It felt maybe I was like the only person championing that movie, but once you go online, you find out there's quite a few champions out there. It's grown considerably, the fan base, and you're doing a show on it.
Yes, I really haven't like officially announced it, but it's on my YouTube page as like if you want to set a reminder, we're going to do it in November. So it's a slow process because it is a couple months till November, but it is happening, and we're going to do it on. It just so happened it was going to be on a Friday where it will be 20 years to the day that it came out and was officially released in theaters. So I cannot wait for that. I'm excited because another film I just love that does not get any love whatsoever at all. Disney kind of backs away from it, I feel, because it did so badly at the box office. But then again, it was up against Harry Potter. And I don't, and there were other things and coming into factor with that. But brilliant film too. So I'm excited. And you better be in the chat for that one, Justin. That would be so cool to have you chat along.
I will. I always, if I'm not working, you'll always find me on some YouTube video. Yeah. So yeah, I will definitely be, watching that episode. And if listeners, if you're interested in that episode, go out and support Tammy Tuckey. She needs all the help she can get, and I want to see that episode.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you so much for having me on your show. This has like been a treat because I really don't get to talk about Roger Rabbit that often. And he does play a part in my childhood. And I just want to watch the movie now and watch all the shorts again. I just, the one that comes to mind is the part in the Roller Coaster Rabbit where Jessica Rabbit, Snoopy has her like kidnapped and she goes, save me, save me. And he goes, what? And then she goes, save me. And it's just so funny. Like the animated jokes in these films and short films are just so brilliantly done. And it makes me laugh every darn time.
Yeah, and be sure to watch it on Disney Plus because I'm sure there's some executive out there counting however many views it gets. So however many times Roger Rabbit gets viewed, how much those shorts, maybe one day, Roger Rabbit did recently make a cameo in that Chip and Dale movie, so
He did? I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know.
Well, it was in the trailer, so I won't say that wasn't really a spoiler, thankfully. I mean, I
didn't. Maybe I'm blind. I don't remember him being in the trailer, but maybe I saw a different trailer.
Yeah, Chip said at the beginning he was doing the Roger Rabbit with Roger Rabbit because Roger Rabbit's a kind of dance you do.
Oh yes. Okay, I'm now remembering the dance thing. Yes. Okay, I got that. I hope he has a bigger part in it besides the dance.
I've seen the movie. It is a small part, but Charles Fleischer reprises his role, so
Oh yay! Go Charles! I've always wanted to interview him too. He seems like a cool dude.
Well, he does do cons every now. He is lined up for this weekend at Monster Palooza in Burbank, California. So for whoever's listening to this, hopefully this episode's out by then. But
nice, cool.
So Tammy, thank you so much for coming. It's definitely I'm really excited about this episode, and I hope and good luck on your Indiegogo campaign.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you for having me, and hopefully I'll be back on a trolley to Toontown sooner than later.
Yeah, well, are you going out to California? Unfortunately.
But for the Disney Expo, I'm definitely coming out for the Disney Expo. So hopefully Toontown will be open by then. That would be great.
Well, unfortunately, it's scheduled to reopen in 2023. So.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll stand outside the little entranceway and I'll go, Toontown, open up for me.
Yeah, we could start the lining up campaign. I know people did that as a joke for the Star Wars. When they were building it, they were quote lining up like half a year away. We should do that with Toontown. Just post lining up pics.
I'll be like, yes, please. I gotta get out my Roger Rabbit shirt. I have it somewhere in my closet, and I'll bring it with me.
You can take a picture with the entrance with the concept art construction wall.
I'll be dazzled there. I'll be like, hey, and then I'll sing, "Why don't you do right? Why don't you do right and open up?"
That's a concert right there, ladies and gentlemen. So, It's a concert right there. So, Tammy, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining me for another episode. I know this was a long time coming, but I'm back, and I promise episode 4 will not take as long because I'm actually in the process of getting another interview. Not going to say who he is, but it's a pretty big interview with a pretty big legend. I will be revealing that next time, though. Until then, I'll be seeing you downtown. Toontown is an unofficial podcast. It is in no way affiliated with the Walt Disney Company. The opinions expressed on this podcast are mine and mine alone and do not reflect any official member of the Walt Disney Company or the Walt Disney Company itself.